How you doing, folks? My name is Brian, and I'm the inventor of the StealthFyre Modular Survival Stove. Got this box right in front of me. This is one of our Bush Runner kits, and I want to talk to you today about how well this kit fits in what's commonly called a bug-out bag. I'm calling this an E.P.C. It's an Emergency Preparedness Cache is what it is. It's a little bit different than a bug-out bag in that it doesn't cover a lot of things. This bag is built with the mindset of the more you know, the less you carry, basically. I wanted to keep these bags as lightweight as possible, as small, as compact as I could. And they're going to be tossed in the back seat of a couple of vehicles. This one's my wife's, this one's mine. They're pretty much basically the same other than small variations. You'll see on this one it's got two different water containers. This one over here has only got the one. But you know, overall they're basically the same. They weigh in roughly 21 pounds. This one's a little bit under 21 pounds. This one's a little bit over. And other than that, they've got the same basic gear inside. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to run down on this one and tear it apart, and I'll show you what's in it, and we'll talk about the reasons that I chose the stuff that I did. We'll go over some of the things like the rule of threes, for instance. It's a really important survival rule. It's great to be able to be aware of that in any kind of emergency emergency situation. You've got to be able to take care of your heat and shelter primarily. You have to be sheltered from harsh environments, no matter what, whether it's the heat or whether it's cold, rainstorms. If you get soaking wet, you're not going to last very long. Even in the summertime, you can get hypothermia and die. So it's really important to have shelter. We've covered the shelter portion, protecting your body, and all of that in a really lightweight little kit. We've also covered the fire portion with the Bush Runner, of course, and it's going to produce the heat that you need for things like purifying water, for instance, if you got to boil water to make it potable, and it's going to be able to cook food, for instance, that type of stuff. So we've got that covered, and then we've got your food and water gear. We've got water purification. We've got pots and pans for cooking and preparing food. And we've got some eating utensils. And then lastly, we've got a storehouse of food that it should last approximately 6 days. But, if this could be about a 3-day bag. And it weighs in at about 20 pounds. It's got enough food to last you for a pretty good while. And it's actually pretty tasty food too. The basic bag, the way I put it together, you could use the concept yourself. The idea is just to get some good tasty foods that's covering your carbohydrates, your proteins, and some vitamins and minerals and stuff like that on the side. So I chose your basic protein bars for breakfast. I've got some snacks in there like crackers and peanut butter. I've got some almonds. I've got some beef jerky. And then I've got soups in there with some packaged chicken meat so that we can add a little bit of extra protein to these soups. And the soups that I chose are, I was focusing a lot on protein to keep you going and keep you strong. But I've got another thing in there also, some E rations, some C rations, I guess. They're meant for putting on board a boat in case you're stranded. And they're just little carbohydrate bars. They're actually really tasty. And for what you get, they're tiny little bars, and it's supposed to be, I want to say, 5 days worth of food or something like that in this little brick. It's really nice. I got one package in the mail, and the vacuum seal was broke, so we decided we were going to taste it. And I like it. My daughter likes it. I find this is a really important thing too, because you got to know what the food tastes like that you're storing up for an emergency. That's pretty important. You don't want to go into a situation where you got to rely on just the food on your back and you don't know what it tastes like, for instance. The apprehension alone could cause your experience to be more miserable than it needs to be. And if you end up tasting it and it ends up not being very good, like some of the dehydrated foods that you can get on the market for the emergency preparedness, stuff's not very good, to be honest with you. There's some gross stuff out there, so you really want to make sure that you're preparing foods that you can eat. That's very important for like your mindset going into an emergency. If you're waking up every day not looking forward to what you got on your back to eat, that's going to be draining. That's going to be really draining on your emotional state. And it's going to affect your appetite, and it's going to create a chain reaction of events. So I put the food pack together with that in mind. I wanted to make sure that I had some good food to look forward to, but I also wanted to pick some food that I could eat easily on the trail. So I stuck with soups for the evening meals because I could quickly brew them up and then pack up my gear, put it into my Nalgene bottle, and I got a soup to drink when I'm hiking down the trail, So there's those things that I kept in mind. And the soups, I cut them up into approximately 1 to 2 cup portions. I figured it was easier to pack them that way. I could vacuum seal them and get them all packed up, and it'll fit easily into my mess kit, and it's probably approximately what I'm going to have an appetite for in the evening is about 2 cups worth of soup. Throw a little bit of chicken in there, maybe crumble some crackers for some like croutons or something, and I got a pretty tasty meal at the end of the day. Don't wake up looking forward to a chocolate mint protein bar, and I can hit the trail again. At 20 pounds, this pack's only going to get lighter over a period of days, because a significant portion of the interior of this pack is food, because it's one of the main things you're going to need when you're in an emergency. You're going to need food and water. So the other things that I've got on here, you can see on the outside, I've got a solar panel. This solar panel doubles as a flashlight. You can see the little flashlight lens right there. And it's got a couple of USB ports. This is a great solar panel battery backup. I don't recall the name brand of it right now. I can probably figure it out and put a link to it in the video sub stuff down below. But I've also got a two-way radio. You can see another one over on this one over here. That way I can communicate with my family if we're within a certain range. I think these have got like a 30-mile range. Maybe not, I don't know, but it's good to be able to communicate over a long distance. So I've got those with these bags. And on the other side of this, there's this little pouch right here. It's got a headlamp in it, a little black diamond headlamp. So I've got a headlamp that I can wear while I'm gathering resources like firewood, or going to a creek to get water. I've got that. I've got this flashlight here, and I've got on this is actually a little solar powered or solar chargeable lantern. So I can take this little portion off. This is a 2-piece lid. I've got this other lid here that's got a little storage container. Right now it's holding the handle for the lantern. But I can take this piece out and put this back on, and this turns into a lantern that I can hang up and spread light out at night. So that's real nice. Let's dig into this. Get this out of the way. So on the front of this, I have got kind of a first aid and hygiene kit. It's got a lot of different stuff in here. When I put my medicines together, I tried to cover everything that would cause a serious concern in a situation that you're really needing to survive. Like, for instance, if you get diarrhea, that's going to cause some severe dehydration. It's pretty debilitating. You don't want to be stuck in a situation like it's a torrential downpour and you've been suffering diarrhea for 3 days. You just don't have any energy left. You're drying out. You're suffering from dehydration. That's a bad situation to be in. So you want to make sure that you've got some kind of anti-diarrheal medicine. And on the opposite spectrum there, constipation medicine. Get yourself some laxatives for your first aid kit, because that's another thing you don't really want to be suffering with out in the woods. The cramps alone from being stuffed up that's not going to make your time very happy out, trying to survive whatever you're facing. And then I've got antihistamines, I've got pain relievers, other things like that. I've got some ointments. I've got some eye drops. This stuff can double as like an eye wash if you get something in your eyes. There's a nice big wad of toilet paper in there. I've got some, some super glue and other first aid like ointments and stuff like that. I got an ace bandage. There's some, moment, it's falling apart a little bit. I got my toothbrush, and there's a couple of tiny little washcloths in there as well. Those are, nice to be trying to clean up if you're out in the woods, or in an emergency situation, as this would be intended for. Sorry, I've never been in an emergency situation where I would need this yet. This just preparedness, I guess. I'm used to being in the woods, so this type of stuff is really handy out there. It's going to be handy anywhere else. I've got some tissue for, you got a runny nose. It doubles as a good fire starter, so it doesn't take up much weight. I got it added in there for that purpose. And then I've got this water purification, aqua or polar pure. It's pretty cool stuff. That's one form of water purification. This backpack should cover 3 of them. Inside of it, I've got a life straw, so that I can quickly and easily gather drinkable water. I've also got a pot and pan so that I can boil with my StealthFyre stove. That makes my water potable. But then I've also got the little iodine drops that I can put into my water to help purify it too.